back again, and this time I want to think about what you might want to do while you're in Budapest. What sort of things are worth having a look at? A bit of sightseeing. Now there are great thick books written on this, and if you want the detail you probably have to go to them or onto the net. There's also plenty of videos that go into it in detail. This is just going to be the once over lightly. I mean, even when I do it myself, I've done a couple of lectures at the WEA, and they've been over an hour each. So I'm going to try and squeeze it down to under 10 minutes. I'll stick mostly to districts 1, 5 and 6. That's from the Szabadság Híd to the Margít-sziget. As a tourist, there's more than enough to see here for a week or so. The bridges define the city, which originally was two cities, Buda and Pest. It's divided by the Danube. There are 7 major bridges in Budapest, and if you have a little money and plenty of time, a trip on the ferry, the local ferry from Vaci to Árpád bridges will take about an hour on the water. You'll see many of the main sites, but unless you have a knowledgeable local or a good guidebook, you really won't know what you're seeing. But you can say you've been on the Danube, the beautiful brown Danube. One of the things that you will see will be Parliament, which is absolutely fantastic. The two best places to see it are either from the river or from the Var. You can get a tour inside the Parliament. If you want to do this, you need to get there early and book an English tour. I was lucky, one of my friends got up and went down there, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I managed to get a tour before lunchtime. You get then to see not only inside the Parliament, but also the Crown Jewels. You can't take photos of the Crown Jewels, but you can see them and the guards and everything. That's quite fun. A lot of locals will tell you to go to Margít-sziget, that's Margaret Island. It's basically a big park, about 2.5 kilometres long. It has a bus that runs down it. So this is one, if you get a bus ticket, that's quite useful to go up and down because it takes a long time to walk. As a Kiwi, we have lots of green spaces, so it's not such a big deal. But imagine if you're actually stuck inside a city, this is a big deal. I mean, it's got baths, it's got a zoo, it's got gardens, it's got statues, it's got a lot of things. Of course, there's also the very famous festival that's there once a year. But personally, for the first time, and a dozen times I went there about 2 years ago, and well, once was enough, okay? But that is something if you want to have a bit of a relax. The other thing that you can do is just walk. If you've got a hotel in the central city, or you actually can get a metro or bus into the central city, walk and look around. As a Kiwi, you're going to see things you'll never see at home. Even though a lot of the buildings were destroyed during the bombing and the war, there's still lots of beautiful things to look and actually look. So if you're going somewhere, if you have a destination in mind, you've got 3 beautiful churches that you want to go to, don't put your head down and just look at the footpath. Stop, be a tourist, look around, have a look at how they've put things together. You have decorations in amazing places, as well as street art. You have a lot of statues and that sort of thing. Look around. Even things like the railway station, the Nyugati railway station, and the Great Market Hall, which is basically a piazza market, they were designed by Eiffel, and they are beautiful to behold. Another place that you can go for a walk, if you want to do some window shopping, is Vaci Utca. Now the bit that you want is from Vörösmarty Tér to Elizabeth Bridge. That's the shopping area. The prices there are through the sky. The locals certainly don't buy there, but again, it's worth looking in the windows, looking around, look at the buildings, and this is where, as my guide told me many years ago, this is where the rich people used to live. It's also worth having a look at the Opera House, even if you're not an opera fan and don't actually intend to go and listen. The building is worth a look. And there's Heroes Square. Now this is a wee bit further out. You can walk there, but I would take the Metro one. So this is Árpád, who is the founder of Hungary, not Attila. It's a completely different person, completely different ethnicity. Attila was a Hun, that is not a Magyar. So our part, and this is him and his warriors, and then around the outside you have all the important figures of Hungarian history. You actually standing there is well worth the effort, even in the heat. It is quite an incredible space. Behind it you have quite an interesting little park and some other bits and pieces you might want to look at, and bracketing it are museums of contemporary and fine art. All the times I've been there, I have not yet managed to actually go there. First few times I tried, I made the mistake of going on a Monday. Everything's closed on Monday in Hungary as far as museums and art galleries go. And the next 2 years they were closed for renovation. Same thing happened in Prague. I must be cursed. What I did manage to get to was the Hungarian National Gallery. That's on the Buda side in the Castle District. It's around the Castle District straddles the Chain Bridge. So the Hungarian National Gallery is, if you're into paintings, it's well worth a look. I actually spent a whole day there one day, and I came back to have a look at the other sites. So you've also got, it's actually like a little village. You have Matthias Church, which is beautiful. I went there once and actually listened to Japanese singers singing in Latin in a ancient Hungarian church. I thought that was quite amusing. You've got the Fisherman's Bastion, which is, let's face it, a fake, but it's a nice fake, and you can actually have a look out over and get good views and take photos. Don't bother with the funicular. If you ever wonder what a funicular is, it is a cable car. It's a very short ride, it's quite expensive, and if you go around the back you can get a bus or a car to go up quite easily, or you can walk. It's not, what they call mountains in Hungary are pretty small. While you're over there on that side, there's also the Galeat. That's very famous. The hotel is famous. It has famous hot spring baths, and again, I must admit, I've never been there. I'm not a big fan of thermal baths. I mean, they're okay, but I can get them much cheaper elsewhere. They also have the Liberty statue on top of the hill. I have actually gone up and seen that. So gone up, had a look, take a photo. That's it. Budapest is full of museums and galleries. I mean, you're spoilt for choice. But one that I would recommend is the Hungarian National Museum. Again, worth at least a day if you've got the stamina. It's between the Stoppachard and Elizabeth Bridges. It's around that area. And the steps are also very famous because this is where, in theory, they started the 1848 revolution, although I've since been told that is actually an urban myth, but I sort of stood on the steps and sort of imagined the whole thing. So that has it traces the occupation of Hungary from Neolithic times right up into current times. It's actually quite fascinating. And from memory, I think it is actually in English and Hungarian. Now, with that little bit there, you now have enough to plan, like I said, a week or two of sightseeing in Budapest. Pick the things that interest you. Like I said, there's plenty of things you can do that cost little or no money. Of course, they've also got the sort of standard things that places have, like jump on, jump off bus tours and all the rest of it. But this stuff here will basically cost you nothing, apart from the museums and the art galleries, and they're reasonable. I think the most expensive thing I went on was the tour of Parliament. That was a little bit more expensive. But how do you think you're going to get around? Well, the most efficient way in Budapest is actually to use public transport. In fact, public transport in Hungary all over is quite useful for most things. So that will be my next video. If you have any questions, again, put some comments below, and we'll see if anyone else has got any other great suggestions of things to see while you're in Budapest. Until then, viszlát!